So without further ado, Rubin Church, thank you for coming on to the show. And first things first, I just like to say how perfectly ironic your last name is to what you stand for and your whole vibe. I don't know if you ever realized that, but I like it. I dig it. It is. I don't know. Have you ever been to church?
Well, yeah. So I'm Jewish,
Oh wow. Okay.
and I actually went to Catholic high school, um, and I've always taken like in high school I took like religion classes as extracurricular kind of stuff,
Yeah.
uh, and then in college I took as many like whenever I needed an extra class, just like to fill up a schedule or whatever. I forgot what those are called that you know you don't really need, but you
Yeah.
need somebody.
Electives. Yeah.
Yeah, electives. Yeah, every elective I took either philosophy or religion, and I took this world religion class with this guy, and he was friggin' awesome, and he was like the dean of the philosophy department, and um, every class that he gave on religion, I took it every semester. Like I almost could have
Yeah.
minored in philosophy because this dude was awesome. Like I talked with him after class, like every session and stuff like that. So I've always been interested in religion. Um, I consider myself culturally Jewish, but like I raise my kids, we go to temple and um, they go to religious school and stuff like that. I don't buy into like monotheism at all,
Hmm.
but I think like it's kind of the area in my identity that like the psychedelic like spiritual enlightenment kind of thing meets is in and belief and stuff like that religion rooted in me.
Yeah.
Like once I had started being like, yeah, but are these texts actually history or were they just written from a bunch of people that didn't know what the fuck is going on, just like we don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And so like I started to really question religion right at the same time that psychedelics came into my life, and it's there's a lot more common ground between the psychedelic world and the religious world than either side would like to admit. I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think that's a coincidence that you just so happen to be questioning your religion at the same time that psychedelics came into your life. Because I mean, I think so. You are still, you still follow the Jewish faith.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not like kosher or nothing. It's all for like community,
I
like
see. I
and the
see.
tradition of the holidays and um I respect anyone who raises a child to be non-religious and not have a spiritual identity. I respect anyone that's going through that as a parent, but for me, that just never would work. And so to give my kids an identity that they can relate to, to provide that like kind of, I mean, the community is great. Like I love the
Yeah.
people that go to my temple. Like we have dinner parties and they're friends and family basically. And like it's great that my kids have that, and like just because I don't believe that there was a person named Moses and he had these 10 commandments or whatever, like just because
Yeah.
I'm like that's probably not the way that happened, doesn't mean that I need to like pass that uh skepticism onto my kids, and
Yeah.
so I kind of always have to walk that line. My kids do know that like if they're going to ask their parents about God or heaven or hell or any spiritual questions that a kid might have, that they want to ask their mom and not me though.
So your wife is a lot more into the actual faith of Judaism.
Yeah, and she'll give a more cut and dry answer at the very least, to where like I'll go on this whole diatribe about spiritualism that they'll be like, ugh, you know.
Yeah. So how do you see your psychedelic beliefs relating to your Judaistic beliefs? Because I see what I was going to ask you before is I see a lot of, sometimes you can relate these psychedelic mindsets and or just these, these deep mindsets into religion. And sometimes I see how, so I think sometimes people wrote these books, these holy books, when they were on high doses of psychedelics, or
Yeah.
after they did it, where it was inspired by these mind states.
Yeah.
So how do you see that? Like, how do you relate your psychedelic experience to Judaism? Because I don't really actually know too much about that belief system, to be honest with you, other than it was the it was the prelude to the New Testament. And is there anything that you can relate to it in there?
I mean, like, yeah, I definitely share your views that a lot of these mystical experiences that are um, uh, accounted for in Old Testament, for instance, or any other religious text, were from a plant teacher of some sort, and
Yeah,
that they didn't know what the hell was going on, how to explain it, so it was God.
yeah,
That's if those stories are recounting an actual event that happened. The other thing that could mean that they have nothing to do with psychedelics is that they're purely just ghost stories,
yeah,
and I think like that's that moment where I was like questioning my belief in like anything and almost becoming atheistic, was because I was like, well, these are just fucking made up stories or whatever.
yeah,
But then as I started really experiencing and researching the mystical experience, and honestly, Terence McKenna's book Food of the Gods also kind of like started me thinking about like the whole basis of religion. Like I started going like, they were having the experiences that we all talk about in podcasts and YouTube videos and
yeah,
books and stuff like that. They just didn't know how to fucking explain what the fuck
yeah,
happened. They were just eating something because that's what you did.
yeah, exactly.
They just found a mushroom that didn't kill them, but it made them travel through time and space, and they didn't know how to explain that.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I see it too. And we have, it's just metaphor at the end of the day. It's just what metaphors did they know at that time, and how did they? Because we can't explain the actual psychedelic experience like with words. You just have to experience it ultimately. I mean, you
Yeah.
can kind of put words on it and put symbols and images or whatever on it, but it's really never going to fully do it justice. So back then they didn't have Google or the internet, or or forums, or podcasts or anything. So the best way that they did it was through saying, the all these stories and euphemisms that they use. And I mean, it is interesting because when I go into those states, I do feel, I'm like, oh, I understand. Like I'm with you, and I don't necessarily believe in the direct meaning of it and think that there's a bearded man in the sky with his puppet strings, but I understand where they were coming from. And that was probably the first thing I got like from it, because I was a hardcore, atheist as well. It was just like, I thought everyone who went to church was just so brainwashed or just didn't even get it. But then I started to get into like meditation and yoga and the whole psychedelic experience, and then I fully came to the conclusion. I was like, oh, these people were just tripping, or they were just meditating, or just whatever they were getting themselves into that higher mind state. And from that they wrote the Bible. Like I do firmly believe, or any other holy text, but I do firmly believe that they were inspired by these states that millions of people are experiencing all over the world right now.
Yeah.
And if you look hard enough, if you read into it enough, and you really think about it enough, then you can understand that. And if you do mushrooms enough, you can understand that, or DMT, or whatever you want to do. It's pretty fascinating. And it's almost like a renaissance, like it's coming back, like that state is coming back to us. Either that, or sometimes I also think that because there's some passages like in the Bible where they literally talk about aliens. So sometimes I think that I mean, they might be related, who knows? But sometimes I think they're almost like this. Okay, so this, the Anunnaki,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I almost think that it's like describing these like angels were just aliens, or just
Yeah.
interdimensional aliens, or whatever they saw. They didn't know how to describe it other than angels and God, but it might have just been extraterrestrial beings from another dimension, which people see on high doses of psilocybin and DMT or whatever they were taking back then, and they didn't know how else to explain it other than saying these are angels or demons and
Yeah.
gods.
Yeah.
It could just be like it's a big tripping, I don't know if you want to say manual, but it's just like a big it's a big trip report that people just wrote down essentially in a very eccentric way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely believe a lot of the like ancient alien type stuff you're referencing there, you know, that like um have you ever seen the show The Orville?
The what?
The Orville. Have you ever seen that
No,
show?
I don't
It's
know
like
that.
it's like a comedy by Seth MacFarlane who makes Family Guy, but it's like a comedy Star Trek kind of. And there was an episode where there was like I forgot the physics of it, and it's not a very like it's a comedy show and not very like physics accurate
Yeah.
on its like space time stuff. But it was this planet that like was on some sort of space time wrinkle, and so it like blinked into existence every so often. But when it did, they were like a couple thousand years ahead, you know, on the planet and whatever. So the crew went down to the planet, and they were a very like primitive society. And this little girl was hurt, and one of the members of the crew had like you know their little phaser thing to fix them and fix this girl's leg, and then they went back up to the spaceship to report what they found, and then the planet went out of existence. And when it came back, they went back down, and it was a couple thousand years later, and they were worshiping this, you know, everyone was wearing like little figurines of this person that came off the spaceship, and like
Mm,
and you know praying for their healing and stuff like that.
hmm.
And then they went back, and then when the planet came back, they went back down. It was a couple thousand years later, and they were having wars over you know who was the real healer, and you know it's stuff like that where it's like that's possibly what happened here.
Yeah.
Is that you know when something comes from another part of the galaxy or you know uses a wormhole or whatever, when they get here, it's you know pre-religion, and then when they come back, like it might not, you know, like we've just been worshiping their first visit or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot about yeah the fantastic things in religious texts, you know, could potentially be that just an alien encounter that we just have no idea how to understand, you know.
Yeah.
Like
I think it
even
is.
you could even look at like the story of like Adam and Eve with like the rib and stuff like that to make Eve. It's like, was there like some alien race that understood like DNA proliferation and you know cloning and stuff like that, and that's what we are,
Hmm.
you know, I think about all that stuff too.
Yeah. I kind of think that, okay, so this is in my high states of mind. I think that the alien race, whatever this is that you might term as God or the people saw as the angels and the demons, we are like half them kind of. We're half these primates that were on Earth, and this alien race decided to pick the primates out of all the animals and morph their DNA or write DNA, whatever, something with the DNA in with the primates, and then thus formed human beings because we're just so we are animals, right? You can look at us and you can, yeah, obviously we are still animals. We have body hair and teeth and nose and facial hair. So we still look like animals, but not really 100%. It looks like we're half animals and half alien. Like it almost looks like if we did like a perfect, like if there was a mother and a father and the mother was like a primate, like a monkey, and then the father was this, we'll say like a gray alien or something that like had no hair and it was just like this, it was just you can't even think of it, like a foreign looking thing, like half of us, a hairless being that was kind of still humanoid. I would almost have to think it would be, if they had a child, it would be like a human, like, or not even a child, if somehow like the DNA was mixed, put into the mix of like the animals on Earth, it would be us. And then you throw in our intelligence in there too. It's like we still have animal intelligence, you know, we still have animalistic tendencies, but then we also have the ability to contemplate our own existence and explore space. So it's just like, yes, we're still animals, we're half animals, but we're also, it seems like the other half of us is this extraterrestrial spiritual being. So honestly, bro, I don't think it's too far-fetched of an idea to think that way. I mean, it
Yeah.
is to the regular person, but when you really like break it down like that and think that like, yeah, maybe we do have some kind of like divinity in us, which, that's kind of what psychedelics tell us as well. When you take those things, or you just sit down and meditate for a little bit, you do feel that kind of that divine essence, that like I amness, that there's something more than just meets the eye of the animalistic monkey that we are. So I mean, I don't think we'll ever be able to prove that, maybe, unless the aliens come back and tell us the truth.
Yeah, that's the only way.
Yeah, but it's a cool idea to entertain.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like my degree is like evolutionary biology, and so I've definitely studied and done research projects and stuff, and all these labs and everything showing like how everything evolves or whatever. And it's like, and I totally buy into science and believe science and stuff like that, except that science has one flaw, and that it doesn't believe in the existence of anything that it can't quantify. That you can't have some sort of instrument or whatever to produce data and reproduce that data.
Yeah.
And out of all the things that point to like, yes, animals evolve, and like, yes, we evolved from monkeys, or apes. We have such a farther there's such a gap in consciousness, in like the hierarchy of sentient beings on our planet. There's like, for as smart as elephants and dolphins and stuff may be, like they can't, like you said, go to space. Like, and so like there's something there in that middle,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where like Terrence McKenna and Food of the Gods saying that it's mushrooms, like, yep, I buy that. But it's like, it also seems like, even if it is the mushrooms, that there's some sort of DNA or evolution altering mechanism,
Yeah.
and planned out by something intelligent,
Yeah.
that if you have an essence of, you call God, and then, but you could put any sort of terminology in there, and I think alien being, could be the same thing,
Yeah. We are the aliens. You ever heard that? Like,
Yeah.
saying, well, that's kind of like the essence of it, is that, we are like part of the alien, or with the extraterrestrial. I mean, with the stoned ape theory, isn't it, where our frontal lobe just evolved so much faster than really anything else, or wasn't it just like an extremely quick evolution
Yeah, and
in our brain?
that's why, like in most archaeology, there's the term the missing link, and what that missing link is that like from Australopithecus or what, I forgot what, there's like our closest ancient relative of you know uh, most human-like primate. Um, the brain size and like uh, what that would equate to, like the capacity for like abstract thought. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they're under the assumption of like, listen, Homo erectus is this smart, or could be this smart, and Homo sapiens are so much more, or whatever.
Yeah.
That like there had to be something in between, and we just haven't found the remains of a skull from whatever was the go-between, that was like kind of half as smart as we are, or whatever. And so like the food of the stoned ape theory is that our closest relative started, some populations of them started eating psychedelic mushrooms that they found as they were chasing cattle around to get milk or whatever. And then the mushrooms grew out of their poop, and they were like, well, let's try to eat these. And they did, and, opened up a wormhole. And,
Yeah.
and then, it talks about, in the book, he lays out all the like kind of reproductive advantages that they would have, and that the mushroom eating subspecies basically survived better than the non-mushroom eating ones.
Yes.
And that all the like neurogenesis that has been proven by modern science, that psilocybin grows brain cells, over generations and generations of that being a part of their diet, um, you know, we ended up with a larger brain. That is the missing link, is psilocybin mushrooms.
Yeah.
You know, and so like that makes a lot of sense to me too, you know. But I mean, Terrence also said that like he believes that mushroom spores are the way to like transmit information across, you know, space, and that they kind of like some species figured that out
Mm-hmm.
and designed psilocybin mushrooms and just shot the spores out into space like a dandelion, you know,
Yeah.
and they landed here and some monkey ate it and here we are.
Yeah.
You know,
It really doesn't seem so far-fetched.
it doesn't, you know.
It just seems so perfect. Like that's how it was supposed to be. It's just like, yes, that's how we get the monk. Like it might not necessarily, like going back to what we talked about before, it might not necessarily been these aliens putting us on like a stretcher and dissecting us and, you know, doing some kind of crazy DNA editing with whatever technology they have. It might have literally just been like what you said. It's just they send these spores off from wherever and they land on Earth, and it perfectly is suitable for growing the spores that the monkeys just so happen to find, and from there the monkeys grow into people that can, you know, create podcasts and
Yeah,
and create the world that we have today.
yeah.
I mean, it's a very profound idea, but I mean, I think our past is a lot more strange than we think.
Oh well, yeah.
What were you?
I think well, just one more thing about that actually, not with the psilocybin spores, but the idea of like peppering the universe with something that will spark evolution and life is not a really abstract idea, and it's not just Terrence McKenna that came up with it. I think his name's James Watson. One of the guys that invented, or not invented, but discovered like the structure of DNA,
Mm,
and then, you know, won a Nobel Prize for it or whatever, and is, you know, in the Scientist Hall of Fame in his later life, because they were inspired for that whole idea came about under an LSD trip, and so they were already kind of out there anyway.
really? So
Um,
DNA was not discovered, but DNA like was like just fathomed under LSD.
yeah,
Wow, I did not know that.
yeah, and uh, I mean, there's been a lot of scientific advancements that like the people have come out and said like, yeah, that was because of LSD.
Oh,
But you know, you got to remember too, at the time they were doing that, it was legal, so it was like
yeah.
all scientists were doing that. Um, but later in life, he authored several papers about an idea that was called directed panspermia, and what that is like he thought that not only is DNA the structure of life and it's a, you know, all the stuff that he had figured out, but he was like, it was sent here by, you know, an alien race out in the universe, and that they just send DNA out because they know it's like a seed, and if it hits, you know, water basically, and the right temperatures, life will grow and life will
Oh,
evolve and all that. And so and that's where his mind went in his later years. But then because of that was such a weird idea and it involved aliens, like he got kind of like blacklisted from most scientists. They don't talk about like his conclusion to the DNA, the structure of DNA that everyone agrees on.
yeah, and that's getting back to what you said before about how science, if you can't measure it, science, like if you're just a firm believer in science, which some people are, because science is great. We need science. Science enables us to have things like a microphone and a camera and everything that we love in our life and allows us to actually come to some good conclusions. But if you're just a firm believer in just science and scientific evidence and that's it, then you're missing like part of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And like those people, they might have been missing part of the picture that you spoke about. It's just, because you know, I feel like a good blend for a scientist is like have a little bit of right brain where you have a little bit of imagination, and but also have a little bit of left brain where you have that analytical rationale. And that's kind of what I try to keep in my life, because science is just another dogma, just like anything else. And if you
Yeah,
just
it
hold
is.
on to that so hard,
Yeah,
you're just gonna fall into the trap.
yeah. It's no different than a religion at that point, you know.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
Yeah,
It's just explore everything. I like to explore all religions, all belief systems, whatever it is. I think this life isn't just one straight and narrow belief. You know, that's you're limiting yourself when you do that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
want to get back to the idea of what you said though, how because I just about DNA being proliferated throughout the universe, and I always think about the concept of DNA, and I think a lot of our just a lot of our origin story lies in that, because it's our literal code. Like there's just something about, because we're a code. Like think about that. We're a code of 4 different letters. I think it's A, T, C, and G, right?
Yeah.
So it's like we're robots. It's like we're some kind of program. Like we have literal code. And
Yeah.
if we have a code, to me, it's like, well, who made the code? Who wrote the code? Because when it comes to us, we have binary or whatever computer language. Somebody has to write it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has to come up with that, like that program or that system. And even if it wasn't like somebody as in like a being or a god or an alien race, well the order of the universe came up with it. And even I think that's like, if you think it's just some random event and just like DNA just so happened to put itself in the A, T, C, and G categories to make human beings, I still think that's a very, very far out idea to think that like there is some kind of order that created this code that like made us. Like we have this thing that we can read inside of ourselves and see where we came from. It's I think there's so much to know about human beings and, you know, animals too, or plants, whatever it is, in our code. It's like, it's literally, if you decipher that, then I think you can decipher our origins.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever heard this. I mention it all the time, but I don't know if you ever heard this. There is a linguist who came up with this, who discovered this phenomenon called Zipf's law. Like his last name was Zipf, and basically, apparently, if you take any document or any piece of writing from any human language, and you arrange it in a table to where you list like every word that is in the document, and then list like how many times it appears in the document, and then rank them from like the one that appears the most to the one that appears the least. Like every document apparently has like a direct like a, I forgot what like a slope of 0. Like it's I don't know how to explain this. Like it's uniform across anything. Like basically when we write a document, like everything is evened out as to how many times words appear in there.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But anyway, how that relates to DNA is there's the largest section of human DNA. They can't figure out what it does. And so because they can't figure out what it does, like science does, they're like, well, it must do nothing. And they call it junk DNA. That's like,
I've heard of that, yes.
Like 60% of our DNA strand is what they call junk DNA. Well, if you take that junk DNA and you arrange it in that same table with like how many times the different pairs appear in the junk DNA, it follows Zipf's law as if it was written by a human, or human intelligence or whatever.
Some kind of intelligence.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I don't believe that though. Yeah, I don't believe this. It's nothing. Like, what does that mean? It's nothing.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we can't figure out what it does. Means nothing. And these are it's the same school of thought that takes like the placebo effect and writes it off. That people take a medicine and think they're going to get better and do get better, but it wasn't real medicine because you tricked them. And then you're like, or whatever. But it's like, wait, no, what the fuck is that then? What is that? Like what are we capable of?
Yeah. What is the placebo effect? That's crazy.
Exactly.
That perplexes me, because
instead of embracing it, we write it off.
Yeah. We got to definitely embrace that. I think the placebo effect means that our mind is way more powerful than we think it is, but it's only powerful in our belief.
Yeah.
That is a very, very crazy thing, man. Like, it's like, I mean, it's the same concept as, believing like these Buddhists that self-immolate themselves or lay on a bed of nails. They don't believe in pain. They don't believe that pain is suffering. It's kind of in that same vein where it comes down to, if somebody tells you this is gonna heal your headache, then it'll heal your headache. And just like the in terms of meditation and whatever you want to put yourself through, it's like if you tell yourself this isn't suffering, then it's not really going to be suffering. And I think, yeah, a belief has a lot to do with how far we can take ourselves, man.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, and you know, like even if it's not as big as like healing yourself or, you know, overcoming cancer without treatment or whatever, you know, that there's reports of people doing with just their belief.
Yeah.
It our belief controls our reality too, to where
Yeah.
like, you know, like I've said it, I had a video about it, and like this year, which everyone's like 2020, oh, it fucking sucks. Oh, this is great. It's honestly been like the best year for me. But I've consistently, well, there's two reasons. One is I've consistently had like just daily gratitude, you know, just always being grateful for what I do have, not what the fuck is going on around me or what injustices are going on out there or what illnesses are going on, but like I wake up and everything's great, you know, like I'm so grateful to have woken up into, you know, all the stuff I have and all the people around me, and all my abilities and everything, you know. And then on top of that, like I just, whenever I'm faced with like something difficult this year, you know, I stop and think like, am I supposed to, or do I need to let this emotionally hang on to me, you know?
Yeah.
And just like, if shitty stuff happens, figure out how to make it not shitty, you know? And just this belief that I can do that at any time, you know, like has really like everything slid off me or flown through me like water, you know, like it really, it's been a great year. And because of that, like I'm attracting more positive stuff. Like I've had a really good year for my job and stuff like that. And it's, you know, based on that belief of like, no, this doesn't have to be shitty. Like life could be fucking great. And if you think it's not, you're probably just wanting too much, you know? You know, and you're not being grateful.
Yep. It's all mindset.
Yeah.
It really is. And I did watch that video that you put out. I don't remember exactly everything you said, but after I watched it, I'm like, I realized that, wow, because 2020 has been a good year, I think, in my opinion, for myself as well. And I realized I'm not crazy. That I think that if you have the right mindset, you can take just everything that's going, all the craziness and drama that's going on in the outside, and just, you don't have to pay attention. You can just shut your phone off.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. You don't need negativity pumped into you. You can only focus on and believe that there's just, you know, I believe there's just as much good as there is bad in the world. And it's always been that way and always will be, you know. And if you just focus on the good and realize what does or does not need to affect you, like I think that belief is super powerful, you know. And yeah, like when I find myself getting frustrated, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm frustrated about some, you know, riots or whatever in a city I've never been to, you know, like what, like, exactly. I mean, like it sucks, and they should handle stuff better, and, you know, there should be better situations, but does it really affect me? You know, like, do I really need to let my emotional state be controlled by that, you know? And so I, you know, yeah, I think that's that outlook and that belief has been a really led to this year being a really good year for me, you know. But the other reason it's been a good year that I mentioned was because I've always been, you know, not a conspiracy theorist, but like I've always been a, like, especially with the government and stuff like that, been like telling people like it's not what you think, like this is what's really going on, or being like, you know, I don't know, just everything that's going on right now is like a big like affirmation for me, like, see, I'm not fucking crazy, like, you know, like the government does lie to you, this is, you know, all this stuff, like it's been a big thing like that. So yeah, I don't know, I've really actually enjoyed 2020. Like it's been more interesting than most years at the very least.
Yeah, I really, the same thing with me, man, honestly, and I'm glad I can relate to you on that. And it's just like I was in the beginning kind of getting lost. I say lost in the sauce. I was getting lost in that. Like, there was probably a good week or two where I was actually scared with the coronavirus. I'm like, oh shit,
Oh
the
yeah,
world actually is ending. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
this is
yeah,
it. And then, watching people, police beat people in the streets. Like every day I was watching online, and I'm like, and then there's something just came over me one day. I was just like, wait a second, what am I doing? I was like, why? I'm just not going to pay attention to this, and or anything really for that matter. And then I guess you could say I awakened to the truth of just like, uh, there's only so much that we can pay attention to in one day. There's only so much that we
yeah,
can put our that we can actually focus on in one day. And there's a lot to focus on, especially, nowadays it's more than just your job or your personal relationships or traffic or bills. It's everything that goes on this thing. And
yeah,
this thing is inside of our pocket. It's literally, it's almost like another limb. It's like attached to us. And you can use it as, it can be used as a very, very versatile tool in your arsenal, or you can use it to ruin you. And that's what I think the whole world is doing right now, dude. I think
yeah,
it's just they're using it not on purpose, obviously, but it's just ruining people's minds. And it's because people are choosing to focus on the wrongest of things. And it's 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 a sickness, man. It really is. I woke up to the fact that, like, wait a second, like like you said, my life's good. None of that shit really matters to me. The coronavirus isn't really as bad as we thought it was going to be. It still sucks, but the world isn't ending. Life's going to go on, and I can only do what I can do in my own life to further a better life in the future. And yeah, mindset is 100% everything. You belief is everything. And if you believe that you live a good life, if you believe that I believe I'm blessed. I believe that, like, this is my entire life is a movie. My entire life is this grand story, and that's how I choose to live it, man. I truly enjoy my life. And it seems it's like the worse the world seems to be getting. And I hear people's opinions like, oh, 2020s, it's, it couldn't get any worse, or just people say just so much shitty shit about just anything about what's going on in the world. It seems like the more I hear about that, the more that I take that energy and just transmutate that into positive energy for myself. I'm like, well, that's not me. I'm not going to focus on that. This is me. I'm doing this for myself. It's like the polarity aspect, like yin and yang, like the more one side becomes just so chaotic and just negative, essentially, the more I take that negative energy and turn it into this positivity for my own life. I just don't think people know how to turn that into. They just get lost and they stay in that negativity and don't know anything about, like, energy and how it works and how to just, like, this guy Thomas Hartle, I think it was on my last podcast, or he talked about a revolving door. And, like, that's kind of how energy is. It's like you can either go with the door, and or you can go against the door. And if you choose to go with the door and with the energy, and the door is like pretty much your life and the energy in your life, if you choose to go with it, you can facilitate a beautiful life. You really can. Like, especially in America, we live in the United States of America, man. Like, this is it's a dream for billions, maybe billion, yeah, I would say billions of people in the world to have this opportunity that we have. And if you just get lost in going on Facebook or whatever social media that you go on, you're just gonna get lost in the sauce and live a shitty life.
yeah.
It's all belief.
I mean, yeah, it's all belief, and like you were saying there with the energy, it's all balance. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
it. So many people have problems with balance everywhere, but like the technology and social media, like that's an area where they don't have balance either.
Yeah.
That like they just can't they can't manage to like keep their to be in the moment and to still be able to be in the moment as much as they can, and um and also have this access to information, and um I mean, balance is just a universal law, like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's why there's fucking planets and everything. It's all the forces around it for millions of years are in balance, and that's why it's round, and that's why it's in an orbit,
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's just in our lives, and the energy that control our lives are no different. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why so many people have so many addictions, you know, whether it's a drug or a habit. It's once it's harmful to you, it's because you've lost the balance there, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I can have a drink every night, but I'm never gonna like get drunk and beat my wife or something like that. But some people can't do that. Like they can't balance it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just yeah, balance is like another big thing, like the last year that I've really just tried to focus on with everything in my life, you know.
Yeah. It's all about moderation,
Mm-hmm.
because social media is at its core, it's a beautiful thing connecting us
Yeah.
globally, but it's been turned into this like propaganda machine, like this corporate
Oh my
or
God.
also or maybe governmental propaganda machine that people don't know it is. You know, that's propaganda. It's when you don't know it, you're being brainwashed, and that's when I see like the whole Black Lives Matter movement and Blue Lives Matter, whatever the matter is. It seems like it's being fueled by people being on social media, because I haven't had Facebook in years. I haven't had any. The only social media I have is Reddit, YouTube, and Snapchat. And so I really don't have like a feed or people or like friends that like I can be exposed to this stuff. So I don't see really much of the like I don't see what everybody else is seeing, and it seems like it's because I really do think like if Facebook wasn't a thing, man, I don't think we'd have like as many riots going on, or like there's so much disparity in like how people feel about each other, or like this side or this side. I think it just comes down to our society is violently brainwashed
Yeah.
by these social media platforms, and it's a very bad thing.
Yeah.
It's not something that is healthy. But at social media at its core, like I said, it's great. It's a great tool to connect people, and and to stay in touch with people, I guess. But we've come a long way since MySpace.
Yeah.
It's
I
for sure.
I know. I mean, we live in a time where like it's never been easier to be an independent abstract thinker just based on the access to the instant access to information that we have, you know.
Yes.
Like anybody could form their own opinion and become an educated individual overnight.
Hmm.
You know, and it's you know, our access to information is almost going to make well, and probably will make you know, certain higher education degrees and universities obsolete,
Oh,
right?
100%. Already
But
has, I think.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and I think like the momentum is going that way. But the
Hmm.
problem is like the Facebooks and stuff like that, um, and especially you know the drug they use to get in everyone's system is fucking politics. But they have just increased the amount of groupthink there is, you know,
Yeah.
in a bunch of people that don't have to, that could all be independent abstract thinkers. It has actually made them more hive-minded and created these echo chambers so that they don't even realize that you know, that they're just, you know, going along with what everyone else is saying, you know.
Yeah.
um
Exactly.
I mean, it's frustrating. You know, I wasn't like a huge Facebooker, but it was definitely a big time waster of mine.
Yeah.
And I knew heading into this election that like, I'm probably gonna take a break from Facebook because I just don't want to see all these people, you know, arguing and just yelling into the abyss about stuff that nobody's gonna change anybody's mind. So why are you frustrated about all this? You know,
Yeah.
um, and you know, on top of that, like once everyone was like posting riot videos, it's like the first couple I was like, holy shit, this is fucked up. But then it's like, oh, this is just what's happening now, and like I'm not going to be in a riot. I don't know if which side I even supported them, so I'm just not going to pay it. So you know, I started like hiding people that were posting that stuff. But then like about, I don't know, like a month or two ago, I was like, fuck this. And I posted first, I was like, hey, I'm deleting Facebook. If you want to actually be a real life friend, you know, and you don't already have my number, here's my number. Text me, and you know, then that's how we can communicate. And I put up like a link to my YouTube. It was like, if you want to keep up with, like, because I would just post like maybe sometimes pictures of my kids and stuff like that, but then like just random thoughts I had, you know.
Yeah.
And so like I was like, if you like these random thoughts, here's my YouTube channel. Peace out. And like,
Mm-hmm.
and then waited a week and then deleted it. And I did get like maybe about 20 or 30 texts. And which led to some really good phone calls and reconnecting with those people and stuff like that. But it's like the other like 100 people that I was afraid to delete Facebook because I'd never talk to them again. It's like, well, I gave them a chance to fucking talk to me again. And like
Yeah.
all they want to do is argue about nonsense. So,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. And I've realized I didn't think I like, you know, doom scrolled on Facebook that often, but it's like freed up like an hour and a half of my day, I think, you know?
100%. Yeah, I believe that, man. Yeah, I mean, it also comes down to it comes down to a lot of things, but one thing is that, you know, naturally, I don't think we're supposed to be able to connect to that many people. Like, you know, in our DNA is what we knew. We lived in tribes of what, 20, 25 people, and that's who we knew our entire life, right? So when we're all connected to, I don't know how many friends you can have on Facebook, we'll say like 300, 400, whatever. You're connected to 300, 400 people, and you're seeing the opinion of those 300, 400 people. You're just gonna see something that conflicts with you, or something that just doesn't rub you the right way, or something about Trump or whatever it is. And it's just not a good recipe for sanity, in my opinion. It just
Yeah.
seems like it just doesn't vibe right with me. It just doesn't seem like how it's supposed to be, because another thing is that not everybody, unfortunately, I don't believe, you know, everybody has the right to have a voice. I just don't think everybody should.
Yeah.
It's that, like, you know, because and the thing is that people that shouldn't say stuff are probably usually the most vocal ones, unfortunately, on Facebook. Or it seems like. And actually, this happened today to me. So I was talking to this girl, and she said, yeah, I don't remember what she was talking about, but she just said, yeah, somebody on Facebook yesterday said I should get raped. I'm like, what? They told you like you should get raped? She's like, yeah, I wish they said, I wish you would get raped. Because I guess she went off on this political tangent or something like that. And like, they obviously had a disagreement. And I'm just like, what, like, in what world other than Facebook would somebody say that, or other
Yeah.
than online? But I'm like, it's too much toxicity, in
Yeah.
my opinion. I mean, there might be some positivity and cool stuff, you know, showing pictures of your kids mixed in there, but from what I hear from people, it just doesn't seem like it's conducive to a better world, a good positive environment.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bunch of people that are frustrated because I mean, I understand that, you know, there's a lot of things going on right now that are frustrating, you know,
Yeah.
and a lot of people that aren't very fortunate, you know, with their economic situation right now, or you know, are afraid of their health or whatever. And but they take that frustration out on people by just being as nasty as they can. And you know, we've already had this situation even before this year of where when you want to fight on Facebook, you end up saying stuff that you wouldn't say to someone in real life. You know, like once that threat of getting punched in the mouth is taken out of it, like it's
Yeah.
kind of funny where the human you know, reactions go, like to where, you know, they'll be like, just say shit that, yeah, like I said, you wouldn't say if you were at a bar, you know. Like you
Yeah.
may get in a debate and a disagreement, and you may storm out or whatever, like whatever. But the stuff people say to each other online is just like you wouldn't say that if you knew your mom was reading what you were writing, you
Yeah.
know, let alone you know, saying it to someone that, you know, what are you arguing about, Kamala Harris? Like what the fuck? What does it matter? Why do you have to break that human connection just to be an asshole?
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know, man. It's just this like I don't I mean, I have faith in humans going forward because I mean, like, there's nothing I don't know. I think like progress just happens. It's just something that happens. It's part of evolution. But it's almost like the interconnectedness we have with the internet through social media is so new that like these are all the growing pains of it. Like we don't
Yeah.
understand the fucking power we have right now, you know, and
Yeah.
we're using it to argue about Kamala Harris or whatever, you know, and you know, tell people to get raped or they hope they get raped because they're going to vote for Kamala Harris, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's a immature baby step of what the internet is going to mean for the next like phase of humanity,
Yeah, I mean, I believe that that's a very idealistic view. I do believe that because, how do we grow? As humans, we grow through struggle. That's like that's the tale of human beings. Like we just grow through adversity.
Yeah,
And it seems like, that right now the social media is definitely a lot of adversity, and it's showing it. It's proof like that we're going through so much adversity. And I think it's because it's not real connection, like it's fake connection. Like you said, if you the threat of getting punched in the face isn't there, so there's no, like, it's not real. It's not real human connection. Like there's no feelings, there's no emotions real. I mean, there's emotions
yeah,
involved, but there's no like that energy and that vibe you feel with somebody. Like if somebody's angry, when they walk in the room, you can feel that
yeah,
they're angry. You don't feel that on Facebook. There's a lot missing, and
yeah,
it seems like we're getting just like a lot of the worst of it. And also it's fueled by it's fueled by bots and an algorithm that quite
yeah.
potentially is making people angry on purpose.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like I listened to your episode where you were typing stuff into that philosopher AI,
Oh yeah.
and but it's like that's amazing. Like
Hmm.
how quick that can produce such a unique answer to
Yeah.
an abstract question, like shows just right now in its infancy stage how powerful AI is. And
Yeah.
then if you add in, like I don't know how much you've seen about deep fakes and like
Hmm.
how good our editing capabilities are, and basically we're at the verge of like you can't believe anything you see on a screen. And then that's what I was thinking about that philosopher AI is like you can't believe anything that's being written either,
Yeah.
and so like yeah, you could totally be in a 3-day fucking 40 thread Twitter argument with 3 people that don't exist, you know
Right.
and end up going out and beating someone up at at a gas station for cutting in front of your car, because you're all pissed off about this argument you had with 3 computers,
Yeah.
and we're at that point. And there's no better way to see that in that uh you know with politics and like I forgot the name of the movie. It was about the like ProPublica or whatever, like basically like this campaign money from both sides goes to Russian, in the last election, go to Russian troll farms that just create all these accounts and just fucking go. And it's like it's serious, like that is for real. That's not a conspiracy theory. The CIA found that out,
Hmm.
and it's like, so you have to think that didn't go away, and it's probably even worse right now, especially with the
Yeah.
pandemic and all the things going on. Like there's more trolls and bots out there than ever before.
Yeah. That
and
is
and
nuts.
and and maybe they're not the only people instigating shit in a conversation, but like they just do the one comment and like push the fucking boulder, and it just rolls down the hill with everyone else's negativity and fear and anger and stuff like that.
Mm. That is nuts. That is something that no one really saw coming. Is a foreign country, or corporate, what business it could be, a corporation, whatever it is, some kind of large entity using these social media networks for their own agenda.
Yeah.
That is pretty insane.
Well, I mean, that part doesn't surprise me. It's the technology that is so good and that
Yeah.
it works so well that surprises me. Like the government having the desire to do it doesn't surprise me, but the
Yeah, that's
fact
been
that
going
people
on
fall
since.
for it, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, because it is easy to fall for, like you said, like philosopher AI. Like if I thought, I mean, if you didn't tell me that was like a computer, I would think that somebody wrote that out. That was a
yeah,
very wise person.
yeah,
It's pretty insane, because even that program uses like metaphors too, which was crazy to me. Like it used these like uh very relatable metaphors to our psyche, and I'm like, how is this something that just came up with this? And it's just a self-learning it's GPT-3. It's just this self-learning algorithm, or code, or I don't even know what you call it. It's just this language that
yeah.
is smarter than us, essentially.
It is. And then, it's like our computer technology right now in some shitty free website is that good. Like 2 things. One, like how smart is the shit that we don't have access to,
Hmm.
right? And B, like how smart is this quantum computing stuff that they're talking about that's going to happen at some point? Like, uh, I don't know, like
Yeah.
if that's going to be an exponentially more computing power, like the AI from quantum computing is going to, it could have already taken over. We wouldn't know, honestly. Like that's how strong it would be.
Yeah. I mean, is that a thing? Or
Oh yeah,
is that a prototype phase? Like, or is quantum
no,
computing? Oh, that's actually a thing?
yeah, that's definitely a thing. Uh, I can't remember. I think it was IBM. Like, you know, said they have a working model, and I mean, yeah, it's a prototype, and like, I mean, obviously, we aren't going to get them first. Like, the government's going to get all those first, but um, I don't know. It's I've gone down some rabbit holes reading about it. There was that show on FX called Devs that was kind of about like quantum computers and like they're like basically that they aren't a time machine except that they will be able to tell the future. Like they'll be so strong that
Wow.
they will be able to tell if they will be able to be used as a predictive model that is so strong you can't change it.
Wow, that's insane. That's
Yeah.
pretty profound.
Yeah.
Wow. How does that even work? Do you know? Like, could you give any synopsis of that?
Like, okay, so the show Devs is like the computer is like in this like completely surrounded by a vacuum and you have to take this weird elevator thing into it and like all this stuff. It's I don't know, like a lot of that is a lot of the show obviously is just like imagination or whatever, but they like sit and they watch these screens and they like they watch scenes play out. And I think they watch like in the past, like alternate realities of how could have happened, stuff like that. But well, I don't know. The show is probably not as accurate as like what they will really be. But as far as the predictive models, like whether it's a screen that you watch or not, the predictive models, like that's why we locked down for coronavirus, was because of a predictive model of what was going to happen, right? And so these are used in a lot of different government policies and strategy and whatever. But a quantum one is so much better than anything we've ever had now, because not only can it predict what our current path would be in whatever situation, but it will predict us seeing what the prediction is and trying to change it, and that's already like in the prediction. Anything we would do to try to stop it, which is why it would be. Does that make sense? Why it would be inevitable?
Yeah,
the predictions.
that seems Terminator-esque.
Like it's kind of like a chess. Like if you and I played chess, I don't know if you're good at chess or not, but we'd be like, okay, if I do this, he's going to do this, right?
Yeah.
But like playing like an expert, or I forgot where I heard someone talking about this. I think it was on Rogan or whatever, but he was saying that, when you're playing in the expert chess player, he's thinking every move you might make in the whole game. And then when he plays at IBM Watson or whatever, when he plays the computer's thinking every potential move he could ever make ever, and so it's like hard to beat because they can analyze literally everything.
Yeah.
And so like a quantum computer, it's all based on like, I don't really understand how they make a computer out of this, but the like core thing with like quantum physics is that like whatever you're trying to observe isn't really there until you're trying to observe it. And so somehow they took, a standard computer is like a circuit with a 0 and a 1. Somehow with quantum computing, there's another option in there. It's not just 0 1, and that one option is.
I've heard that. Yeah, it's 0 1 in both or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like, and it could be whatever you want it to be. Like, I don't know, man. I don't understand the physics of quantum computing, but it's like it's not just a theory. Like, there's like in the next decade there will be some government somewhere fucking with shit with a quantum computer.
That's huge. That sounds like it's going to change the world and our destiny. It's like our future. That's like, that has something to, just the idea of that is just, it's really unfathomable by like regular rationale and logic. It seems like it's able to change the future by predicting our future, by knowing the prediction of our future, and then from there changing our prediction, right?
Yeah.
In a way. Wow, like that's really far out, man. I don't even know what the repercussions of that are. Like, I mean, sometimes I think, that humans are being used to create these far, far superior beings than we are. And we're just like these puppets in a way, using our limbic brain structures and just trying to survive and procreate and eat and, go to work. And all the result of that is our technology and these beings and this intelligence that is far more logical and rational or quantumly advanced than we could ever be.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to be if we're going to fucking leave the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's just the thing is, it's like we've already looked at all the planets that we can see in our solar system that we could get to on a ship, and like there ain't nothing really that much worth going, like we ain't gonna find other life. But where anybody else is, like, we have to figure out a completely different understanding of time and space, and you're not going to do that without a computer that can predict why you want to do that and what you're going to do about it and all that, like, I mean, you can't. Yeah. So it's like, it's inevitable. The AI that will come out of that is inevitable.
Yeah.
But it's humans as is. Like, look, we've gone from, when did we land on the moon? It was what, 50 years ago, 60 years ago?
And sometime in the 60s, I don't really know.
Oh yeah, I guess, yeah, that's right. So it's like I think it was like late 60s. So, I mean, we've gone from that, which was a huge step, to like now, or we're even, okay, a better thing would be, in the early 1900s, I think, is when they created the airplane. And like in 100 years, and there was two dudes and there was this fucking wooden thing. 100 years later, there's probably 500,000 people in the air at any time.
Yeah. That is insane when you put it that way. I mean, with technology, there's a law for this. I don't know the name of the law, but it's exponential. And the more
exactly,
and the more advanced that we get, and the more advanced that we get.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see where we are in 100 years.
Yeah. So, it's weird to think about, like, technology that we do have staring in our face, but like, it's weird how quick it's gone anyway. And to expect that the next phase isn't going to come at least as quick, but probably quicker. Like, I think, it'd be surprising to a lot of people. Like, it's I think that's one reason 2020 is so weird, is like, we're at the like crux of the hill of the roller coaster that's gonna really start cooking with some speed, as far as like how weird shit gets and like how advanced we start getting.
Well, what do you think is the next huge leap? Is it quantum computing, or is it like, I think, I'll give you my idea of it, I think that the next step in terms of technology is that we literally morph into it, as in, like, it becomes part of our body, as in, like, we're androids. And more importantly, it's not necessarily like our limbs or anything, because that's actually already a thing, but it's more so like our brain. And from there, like Neuralink, essentially, and that enables us to just touch areas and just enable us to think differently and be. It's pretty much like we're gonna have a heads up display, like in a video game, and we're just going to be able to like access things that we weren't able to access, and just become these super beings, if used correctly, if not used nefariously by, the powers that be. But ideally, that we just become these hyper intelligent beings. Like, I don't, sometimes I see like, oh, robots are taking over, but then there's other times I think like, well, I think we're actually going to become morphed with those robots, and it's going to be like this. I mean, I think artificial intelligence is something separate, like that might be like the other entity, but we're still going to be with technology, like, like our smartphones and all of these computers it's just the first step to us morphing with it. It's just not in our body yet. It's with us, and it's next to us and with us pretty much the entire day, and we rely on it, but it's not actually in our physical being yet. And I think that's the next step, the next big step.
I think, either the neural net or, like the eye stuff they have in Black Mirror.
What was that?
You ever watch Black
Mirror? Which episode was
like,
that?
Well, like a bunch of the shows, they all have like some sort of bionic eye.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone says like, oh, I wouldn't do that, I wouldn't get that or whatever, and it's like, yeah, but your kids would. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because you're gonna be at like a disadvantage if you don't. It's pretty much
yeah,
saying like I wouldn't never get a smartphone like 10 years ago. Well, now pretty much everybody has a
yeah, your
smartphone.
grandma has one. Yeah, I mean, and
Exactly.
so it's like that's how that would go.
Yeah.
Especially if they're like, I don't know, you got like a discount on health insurance, or that's the only way you can get health insurance, or there's some gotcha that the system always puts into shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, also, I do think another big thing, and I like how you're wearing the Bitcoin shirt, is that
Oh yeah,
blockchain.
yeah,
And I think the blockchain technology is going to be uh, enormous in terms of. I mean, I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on it, but from the YouTube videos that I've read and people or I've watched and people that I've read, there's their comments about it. It seems like it's the way to go. Like it's gonna if actually goes according to plan, like we're not going to need banks anymore, or we're
yeah,
not going to need these like intermediary financial institutions that got us into the situation that we're in the first place. It seems like the next step for our whole economic system.
yeah,
And like I said, I'm not an expert on it from listening to what other people say about it that know a lot more about it than I do. I'm like, yep, 100%. That's what we need. Decentralization. That is exactly what we need.
yeah,
Do you know much about it? Like, are you a big crypto guy?
yeah, yeah. I you know I don't think it will topple the banks like people think. I don't think it'll make them go away, but it will force them to adapt.
Yeah.
And one thing I don't know. Well, and first off, like I think there's a lot of good crypto projects out there or whatever, but it's like I've been in it too long, trying to like catch the like, oh, this is going to do better than Bitcoin percentage wise, so whatever. But like we're still in the thing where like altcoins, it's just a crapshoot. It's a lottery ticket. It's speculation at this point.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me what cryptocurrency is definitely going to be around in 10 years, the only one I could say with 100%, well, 99% guarantee, and this being the highest guarantee I could give, is Bitcoin. So I have altcoins and stuff like that, and I pay attention to what's going on. But my main thing that I focus on, a dollar cost average and just hold is Bitcoin. I buy $100 here or there. If someone like owes me $100 and like they take their time getting it to me, I'm always like, don't, whatever, whenever you get it to me, whatever. And as soon as they do, I put it in my bank and buy Bitcoin with it. Like any
Mm-hmm.
money that like I'm not expecting, I get Bitcoin with it.
Mm-hmm.
But so, and I'm just holding it long term. Like I have a certain percentage that I'm going to leave to each of my kids, or give to each of my kids when they either graduate college or are on their path to a good career. Like if they want to be a plumber or whatever, once they're like cool with that, like I'm going to give them the amount I have set aside for them. And then I hold that on like security wallets and stuff. And then, but the big thing going on right now that at first I was like, oh, this is another hype or whatever, is DeFi. Have you seen people talking about that?
Yeah, I don't know anything about it though.
Yeah. So DeFi is decentralized finance, and that's the key word with all this blockchain, is decentralized, and that's how it will really disrupt the central bank kind of system. DeFi is where basically you take, say, a website or whatever. I mean, they call it a financial instrument, but it's basically a smart contract on Ethereum, and everybody like puts money into this pool. And say you donate 1 ether, they'll give you an ether's worth of, or the same equivalent worth of like their exchange token. And then people are going and selling those. And those are what DeFi tokens are, is the tokens from this exchange or this liquidity pool where everyone has their money. And you get like a percentage, like how you used to by holding your money in a bank. Like the longer you hold it in, there's like an annual percentage yield. And that's paid out in their token. And
Is
then
that the proof of stake?
Yeah,
idea?
it's the same kind of idea. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. You by holding your money there, and proof of stake is a DeFi idea. It's a decentralized finance, so where like
Yeah.
you're holding your money and making interest on it, which you used to be able to do, and they've just killed the rates. Like back when I was 20 years ago, I graduated high school, and like with graduation money, I could get a CD, and it was like 3.7%. And I remember my parents being like, "That's a pretty," or no, it might have been 5.7. Whatever it was, they were like, "That's a pretty good rate," and whatever. Now, 20 years later, I think a CD is 1% you will get on your money from the bank. Inflation is 2%. So every year, your dollar's worth 2% less. So if you're holding it in a CD in a bank at their best rate they'll give you, you are losing money. Most people don't realize that because most people can't save money. Like stuff's so expensive now because of inflation. And so this DeFi is these yields for saving money that we haven't seen in 20, 30 years. And some of them are insane where they're like 1,000% a year, but nobody keeps their money in there. And that's what the other term is, yield farming. They're constantly moving it around to different websites to get the best yield and get these tokens, and then they sell them right away. And there's a lot of projects that aren't real. So once people are putting money into it, they change the contract and take everybody's ether, and then they call it rug pulled, where all of a sudden the tokens they gave you aren't worth anything and you can't get your ether back. So there's the scammy kind of crypto stuff going on in it, but at its core, the idea of like decentralized, to where like you're not borrowing money from a bank, you're borrowing it from everybody in the community. That is something that I think will grow, and the rates will be more realistic, but still better than a bank. And they're going to challenge the banks as people are pulling out money from their banks to get a better yield on it by putting it in a decentralized thing. The banks, to get that that capital back, are going to have to start offering a better rate for people to save. So I think that's what I mean. Like, banks aren't going to go away, but they're not going to be as predatory as they have been, because there's going to be this alternate world. And so that's what I see. Like, cryptocurrency and blockchain are two different things to me. Blockchain is just a technology that like lots of different industries can use, but that doesn't necessarily mean like there's a token or a cryptocurrency that will become valuable because of that. It's just a different way of running their business. And so, like, I listen to a lot of like stock guys and stuff like that, and those are stocks that people are speculating on now as companies that are going to be having a more decentralized model using blockchain technology. But that doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, buy their token. Like, they don't have that. So that's where like Bitcoin is outside of the banks, and I think will become the world bank, and potentially Ethereum too. But other than that, it's like hard for me to like really speculate too far out about other coins, in the crypto space. I love that there is such a community around it and everything. But a lot of it's just like trading, I think like that's like with crypto, that's the two like ways to make money right now, is to trade or lend, with this DeFi stuff. But I don't know, man. It's just it's for me, Bitcoin is a better way to save, because I don't know to believe like the crazy $1 million Bitcoin kind of ideas out there. But at the very least, I know it's going to be worth more than it is now, and I can't say the same for dollars that I could store away, and on top of that, like, I like that, nobody can take it. The only person that can lose it is me, I think that's an important thing, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not like a big, like, greedy money guy, it's more that I see like that money is like an energy that the hippies in us, right? We want to like be like, oh, fuck money's stupid. And like, I don't know, that's just not the way. Like, there's an energy attached to money. Like, government doling out dollars is stupid, but like value and exchange, like those are things that like just kind of always exist within humans.
Yeah,
And
that's the energy.
yeah. And I
Mm-hmm.
think Bitcoin is an evolution of that. The Bitcoin
Mm,
was an inevitability,
mm.
more than anything else. Um,
Yeah, that makes a
and
lot
and
of
it's
sense.
and it's all the decentralization. Like Bitcoin people always like to point out that like the largest hospitality industry or company right now or whatever is like Airbnb, like a decentralized hospitality industry. uh Uber, like there aren't cab companies anywhere anymore,
Mm,
like a decentralized company. Uber and Lyft like took over that whole industry. And why would banking not end up being decentralized too?
mm. That's true. It just comes down to people have to know about it and educate themselves about it and
Yeah.
take their money out of banks and put it into Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of half in DeFi to where there's like some companies that they aren't decentralized, but they're also not an actual bank. But that they, follow regulations and stuff like that. They're not going to just like disappear in the middle of the night. And they offer less of a yield um, than some of these shady sites, but more than a bank. And so I've actually, there's stable coins. There's coins that are always the value of the dollar. So I've actually been taking money out of my bank to hold in these stable coins that will always be a dollar, but then keep them in these accounts and these wallets that offer like 8.6%, which is better than you've seen at a bank for holding dollars and you know 50 years.
Yeah.
So like, and then it's already on the blockchain, it's already crypto, it's already easy to send uh somewhat anonymously. It's harder for like a creditor to take or whatever.
Mm,
So like even that, just even if you're not speculating on the future price of Bitcoin, I think having some of your dollars that you have saved up already on the blockchain in a crypto by utilizing stable coins is a good thing too. And so I've been kind of slowly doing that.
mm. It seems like a no-brainer. I think people just don't know anything about it. I think it's something so new that at this point in our evolution, it's just like people just we're just trying to survive at the end of the day. And then when you introduce
Yeah.
that and people don't know anything about money in general, so then
Yeah.
when you introduce this whole thing called Bitcoin and the whole technology about it is pretty, it's pretty advanced to understand if you first of all don't know anything about money and how
Yeah.
like the energy of money. And it'll take time, but I think it will be slowly introduced into our society as people see like the DeFi movement, like what you said, when people see that they can make more money
Yeah.
on their savings than they could from a bank.
Well, you can actually save. Like that's the thing is like we haven't realized it, but like middle class has been just like pushed out of the ability to just save. It's our house prices go up, our wages don't, prices of stuff goes up. It just gets harder and harder to squirrel anything away. And then when you add inflation on top of that is this hidden cost of just living in the United States. It's you don't see that, like, even if you think you're saving, you're sitting on an ice cube that's melting. And that was a big thing for me getting into it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was uh the main thing that like put it into my mind was a mushroom trip where I was like thinking about money, and I was thinking about being broke, and I just had this like grand vision of like the evolution of like trade and banking and money. And then like I like was seeing this like web of like mycelium get formed around the earth, and I was seeing all these trade routes, and like, I mean, it's just this crazy fucking vision of the globe that I had. And I just popped up and I was like, Bitcoin. And all I had heard about it before was I was like, oh, I'd like to get some LSD online, and like reading about it, and it was like, oh, okay, so you have to get Bitcoin and use that. You have to have this wallet, and like that was it. The technical stuff, I was like, screw it. I'll just wait till the dead roll through town, or whatever. But that's the only reason I had like heard about it before, was like potentially using it to buy drugs online. And
That's how it started, right? That was like how it got big, kind of.
well, I mean, it's definitely
Because that's the first that I've heard of it too. Was like, oh, it's cryptocurrency, and that's how you buy drugs anonymously. I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah, it's
good to know.
definitely the first, and it's why I think psychedelics and crypto have a big synergy that people don't really realize. But it was the big use case, the first use case other than like just computer nerds being like, hey, look at this, I made these coins and I can send them to you and you can send them to me, but I can't double them up and send them to you but still have them in my wallet. Like that was the big advancement that people were nerding out about.
Yeah.
Was that you can't double spend this, and this could actually be money and whatever.
Mm.
And it wasn't until someone was like, but you can't tell who sent it to who and no one can see that. I need to buy some drugs, I'm going to use this stuff. And then once that happened and there started being like the Silk Road and stuff like that, like it was the first major like use case for it. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, like it's kind of its best use case still. Like you can use it. I mean, you could definitely use there's debit cards and stuff like that. Like I use Square Cash App, and I have a debit card that like if I needed to spend some Bitcoin, like I can with a card just at a store, or whatever. And there's plenty of those. But it comes down to this where like I believe so much in the future value of Bitcoin. Why the hell would I use it to buy a cup of coffee?
Yeah, exactly.
But if I was looking to buy like some drugs online and have a profound psychedelic experience, well, then I would use it now. I don't care what like that, like it just comes down to that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people like that because, now I don't think people use Bitcoin for drugs anymore because it's more traceable than people think. I think they use like privacy coins and stuff like that, but I've honestly never even gotten on the dark web. So, I don't know too much about that, but as at least what I read, like that is still like a big use case for crypto. But and it's a knock, like when government people are shitting on crypto and trying to get it illegal, and which can't even happen anyway. But they'll be like, it's only used for money laundering and drugs, and it's like, okay, so is the dollar. Like that's like until there was crypto, there was plenty of money laundering and drug buying.
Yeah, that's true. Do you see it as being used as like the main currency in the world? Like, is it going to be a currency, or is it like the technology of blockchain that the currencies are going to be built around?
I think governments will create their own coins, but I think like the blockchain has changed the game to where like everything is going to be like we're going towards a cashless society.
Yeah.
And because of that, there is always going to be some way to convert. Like when I was a kid and you were going to go to another country, you would have all these like paper bills from those countries, and you could go to your bank and like hand it to them and get it. I don't even think you could do that anymore. Like if you have foreign money, like you're just fucked. Like everything is like a conversion,
Yeah.
and like who travels around with paper money? Like everything's like, and then coronavirus has made that even worse. And like, I think we're just totally moving towards a cashless society. And I think that like in the United States, that's going to be part of the like recovery stimulus stuff. One of these stimulus bills is going to have like a Fed card or something like that. And they're going to be like, here you go. There's a digital wallet. It's an app on your phone. You use your social security card to sign up, your fingerprint, and we're going to dump your 1,200, fuck you, shut up bucks in there. And, and that's going to happen every month until we're recovered or until we win our next election. And that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But the technology is always going to be there to trade that for Bitcoin. And so I think as other countries lose faith in the United States as being like what everything's valued in, like when some country has to buy, say France has to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, they have to buy it in dollars worth, like two countries that don't use the dollar, like their oil is valued in that. Once that changes, and we have our grip on the financial economy, there's going to be this like power struggle and tumble of like, well, what do we value stuff in? And since everything will be online and digital and virtual, I do think it'll settle on Bitcoin kind of being the de facto reserve currency, whether it's like official or not. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but I think that's, the volatility will go down and the it won't be used. It'll be like so slow to move Bitcoin, and it'll be worth so much that no, it won't be like digital cash. It'll be
Mm,
like gold. It's digital gold,
I see.
and it'll
Yeah.
be the store of value. Like that narrative has changed, and potentially I'm just spitting out stuff I hear other people say, but it makes fucking sense to me. And I do see that happening to where like it was originally supposed to be cash, like back and forth. Um, but I think potentially when they were developing it, they really didn't realize how to make that global, like how hard that would be,
Mm,
Uh,
yeah.
so I think it'll just kind of sit there as this layer of value on the internet, um, and it'll act like gold in a new digital, virtual world.
Yeah, that makes sense. From what you just explained, it seems like it's going to be more utilized and more useful for large entities, like you said, with
Yes.
oil. Like
Yeah.
it's, I'm not going to be. It's not going to be between people. It's going to be between these large organizations or even
Hmm.
countries or whatever to use it. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I like the idea of what you said. How with the stimulus checks, I never really heard that. Like how your next stimulus or the future stimulus will be in. It could be potentially in the form of a cryptocurrency, and like that's a very surefire way to get people to use that cryptocurrency, whatever it is. Because if they're saying, hey, we're going to give you $1,200 or something that's worth $1,200, everyone's probably going to sign up for it,
Hmm.
whatever that is, like USD coin or whatever it may be in the future. So that makes a lot of sense too. And it
Yep.
may be, I see like when you describe it like that, the beginnings of like a universal basic income.
Oh, well, I mean, we're definitely heading towards that. We're heading towards a lot of workplace automation and a lot of virtual remote work and stuff like that. I do think there's a lot of jobs that aren't going to come back. There's a lot of industries that aren't going to come back hiring the same amount. And I think like universal basic income is a inevitable thing as well. Um, it's just, I mean, I don't know, like even before coronavirus, like I was into like Andrew Yang and like stuff that he says. Um, and he made a lot of sense. But when he was talking, it sounded like that was 50 years down the road.
Yeah.
Now, this year, it's like, oh, he was talking about right now. you know,
Yeah.
like everything that he was talking about, like is a almost an immediate, threat to our society right now.
Mm, yeah. I mean, universal basic income thing that makes me like just like wouldn't that devalue the dollar or whatever currency we use, like if everybody
Yeah.
has money? i
Oh
just
yeah.
I just don't see the point in that. Like it makes a lot of sense, and in the idea of it is amazing. Like yeah, we just everybody gets money to survive, like that makes sense, but there has to be like more to it than just that. Like I because if everybody has $1,200 every month, then it's just going to make inflation go up, right? It's just going to make
Yeah.
things more expensive. Like
Yeah. No, it
I don't
does.
know.
But it's we do that anyway. Like I look at it this way, we're like, um, we just hand out money to corporations for behaving poorly and doing things that are bad for the economy and people and stuff like that. I mean, we create money out of thin air and
Yeah.
make money worthless to corporations. Like they
Yeah,
can be
true.
reckless and give bonuses for poor performance because they know the government's going to bail them out. So I'd at least rather see that money just going to someone, even if they're fucking buying lotto tickets with it, like whatever, like I mean, it's at least like if money's made up and we're just don't care about our government deficit and our budget and stuff like that, uh at least get some of that fake money to people, like
Yeah, that's very true when you put it that way. Yeah.
and I mean like um the I think that's a big thing going on with all the riots and protests is money, and it's like I said, like us hippies, man, we want to be like money's bullshit. We don't need money. I want to live in a society without money, but it's like it just yeah, it's a pressure, it's an energy that just is there,
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't want to like sound like I said, I'm not this like greedy money guy. It's just that it's been part of my spiritual journey, right? Is that if we want spiritual, if we want like ultimate freedom, there's all these different components to it, and we want spiritual freedom, we want emotional freedom, but financial freedom is that too. And
Yeah.
now by that, I don't mean rich. I just mean to where it's like not a pressure on you. You know, it's
Yeah.
not, you don't have to make decisions, and you can let go because you're not thinking about this. And like some people are there, that's for sure. Like the most financially free people there are probably homeless people, right? You know, like that don't give a shit and whatever. But you know, so many people, what gets in the way of their spiritual freedom, and they may not realize it, is that they don't have financial freedom, that they're, you know, a slave to a time card punch slot, you know, whatever. They maybe subconsciously, you know that like they're never going to be able to stop working at any point, right? Because like they don't have any retirement savings, or you know, they don't,
Yep.
you know, they don't have they're just going to be working until they die kind of thing. And even if you push that down and repress that, we're like, oh, it doesn't bother me. Like if that's your reality, like it's hard to let go and have spiritual freedom, you know, uh if that's weighing on you. And I realized that was a big part of like what's holding me back in my growth. And that's why like that idea of Bitcoin came to me in a psychedelic state, where I was thinking about, I had that realization, what's holding me back is like I've always been a fucking broke mooch, you know, and like I don't own anything, and like I'm always in debt, and like I've lived that way so long that like I don't think it bothers me. But it's like in this really open psychedelic, you know, state of really trying to analyze, you know, my subconscious, uh, realize like that's a big fucking thing, you know, like it's a big problem with me. And you know, I'm not saying everyone else it is, but I think a lot of people it is, and they don't realize it.
Yeah. Just money holding, the idea of money holding us back, or not using money to your advantage, you're saying?
No, just that. What do you mean, like what financial freedom is?
Yeah, like what yeah, essentially like what was holding you back? Is that your idea of money, like
Um,
not using it the right way, or just, yeah, what is financial freedom to you?
like owing something like is not financial freedom, you know. Like we can say like, oh, that's stupid or whatever, but like you know, independence is what we want to like strive for. We want independent thought, but we also want economic independence. I don't want to have to rely on people. You know, if I have a bill that, you know, hospital bill or something like that, I'm like sick of like always having to like ask parents and families and friends or whatever.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm always, there's a portion of my budget I always have to like be like, well, this goes to the credit card companies or whatever. And it's like just all that stuff like can just become part of your routine.
Mm,
But I don't think we realize how much it weighs on our on the back of our mind, on our subconscious.
mm,
You know, and it's part of that stuff that like, you know, when we're trying to really let go in a psychedelic experience, that pulls us back because it's there. We're thinking about it, even if we don't think we're thinking about it, kind of thing.
yeah.
So, I mean, I guess, yeah, the financial freedom is just like
Like a,
having everything you need, but not more than you need, to a point where you can't even pay for it. And then you're just kicking that can down the road, you know, and whatever. Like
yeah.
there's financial debt, and there's, you know, cosmic debt, and like they're a little more intertwined than we want to think, you know.
Mm. Just abundance, right? It's just the abundance mindset.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's because when it comes down to it, is money is our way to survive. It's how we eat. It's how we live our life, essentially. And if that's all you're worrying about is survival, you're in a very low vibrational state.
Hmm.
And yeah, you can't evolve spiritually if that's all you're doing. And I think the majority of people in this world, unfortunately, are stuck in that. You know, it's hard to look past that if like you're just trying to put food on the table. If you're
Yeah.
just trying to like pay your bills, or just you owe somebody money and they won't stop nagging you or something. And yeah, how do you evolve spiritually deep down if you just are trying to just eat and just live? It's tough, man. I mean, do you think like everybody is capable of that, or can there be only some people that are able in our society to be financially free, or is it just like
Well,
a special thing?
I mean, I think so. The problem is that it takes two things. One is the mindset of abundance, of being like not wanting what you know, being grateful for what you do have and not saying this isn't enough, you know, like that's
Yeah.
that's the true abundance,
Yeah.
you know, is realizing, holy shit, I do have everything I need,
Yep.
you know, and so much, you know, financial problems are caused by this, like, oh, I want that new, you know, Tesla or whatever, you know, like you want this new stuff, you know, and you want the best phone and whatever, and all this stuff that doesn't really matter, like, you know, some of the best, like time, you know, nobody has enough time, you know,
Yeah.
and so like that's another thing in abundance, is like getting yourself to a mindset where you value time more than possessions. So that's one thing that would lead to that, the uh of financial freedom, right? Was that what I meant? Kind of lost my train of thought.
Yeah, we're talking about how to get to a place of abundance, I guess.
Oh
And
yeah, so mindset is the one thing to be able to why everyone could be financially free. The other thing is understanding the game. Like, money is a game in society. Like,
yeah.
the core of it is an energy, but the reality of it is it's a game.
Yep.
And if you don't understand the game, which I didn't until I was, you know, well into my 30s, I didn't understand the game. I was a pawn in that game. It's just like we were saying with social media. You can use it as a tool, or you can be a tool of it.
Yep.
And the financial system is the same way. And unless you know, you got some big inheritance and like you've never had to worry about money, if you're working stiff paying taxes, if you don't understand what's going on with inflation and interest rates and all that stuff, you know, anyone who's listening to this that has tuned out when I mentioned interest rates and inflation and all these financial terms, like, if you don't understand that, you're being played by the game. You're part of the percentage they want to not understand how it goes, because you just keep pumping your fucking quarters into the video game that doesn't end, and they're taking them in the other side, you know.
Yeah.
And so if you can understand that and start to react when they're doing what they're doing, and react like they do, you will be on your way to financial freedom. Like, for instance, you know, I've seen lots of articles this year of the billionaire class increased their wealth 27% this year. Okay, so did I. You know, like, because I acted like them, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense,
and
man.
right. And so you know, should they have? No. Should they be donating all their money to, you know, vaccine research, or, you know, the stimulus bill should come from the billionaires? Probably. Yes, I agree with all that. Eat the rich, whatever. I agree with all that. Like, greed is not good. And I don't agree with greed. But it's all still a game. And the more upset you are with what's going on, the more you're probably getting gamed, you know. And so I just found myself like realizing that like, I'm really upset at this, I'm really fucking getting gamed, you know. Like and so like changing my mindset and not buying all this shit. Like, I used to just be on eBay all the time. Like, I'm a guitar player, and like I would just buy all this nonsense that I never used, and, you know, and whatever, and we're just like getting all these guitar pedals and amps and all this stuff, and like no need for it, you know. um just real materialist like that, even though I didn't think it was, because it's like, oh, this is for my art or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's like, once I changed that mindset, I realized like, oh, I don't really have to spend as much money or make as much money as I thought I did, because I'm not buying all this nonsense, you know.
Yeah, exactly,
so,
man.
so it's like I changed that mindset, and took like 4 or 5 years to really learn what the fuck the financial system and the economic game is. And like I wouldn't say I'm like totally financially free now, but I'm definitely way better off than I was, you know.
Yeah, you're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with mindset, right?
Yeah.
I say that life, you know, rather more so than the economic system, life is a game. I see life as, you know, it has rules, and if you don't play the game, it's going to play you. Unfortunately, there is a competitive aspect in this game, or in this, you know, this thing we call reality. There, as much as, you know, it's all peace and love, and it's all about love, and you can't escape the fact that there is some kind of competitive aspect, but it's more so like it's like a friendly competition, I guess you could say. It's not really like, I mean, that's why we love sports and video games, and we're just built around competition, and the economic system is just another thing of that, unfortunately. It's kind of
Yeah.
like we can't escape that. Like if you're in the system, like if you live in America, you pay your taxes, like you're not going to be able to escape that competitive financial system, and you have to play the game, or else
Yeah.
these other people are going to play it better than you are.
Yeah.
And it just comes down to knowing the rules, and it's
Yeah.
not difficult, it's not anything too crazy. They just read. We got the internet, everyone can learn.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like you don't have to agree with the rules of the game, but if you're
Yeah.
going to play the game, you do have to play by the rules. And like in the context of the financial world as a game, it's like, okay, if you don't like the rules and you don't want to play the game, well, here are the other games over there under the bridge. There's your tent, like that's
Yeah.
just like, I mean, that's where it ends up.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like it's a necessary game to play, and yeah, I encourage people to just fucking learn what the fuck's going on, and that's kind of one of the things I was alluding to with 2020, where like I've been yelling about central banks and interest rates and inflation for like 3 or 4 years now, and it's like all of a sudden this year, like people are like actually talking about that again. I'm like, I know, see, I'm not fucking crazy.
I mean, I think 2020 is like a time of awakening. It's a time of people. I mean, there's one poll where people are awakening up to the reality they live in, and everyone's going through these psychedelic experiences, and they're seeing life for what it is. And then you have the other poll where people are just getting more and more lost in the sauce, and they're just
Yeah.
more just essentially brainwashed. And but I think we need that, like we talked about before, balance. Like we need that balance, and with the polarity comes like an ever more so awakening, and we're gonna see that there are a lot more people that are waking up. And I think it's true, man. I think and this is just the beginning. Like I really think that we are moving toward a completely different world, and it's going to be exponential, but it's it's going to be interesting in the next coming years, man. Like there people are like, I go on Reddit, and I belong to like a lot of like spiritual Reddits, and just crazy ass subreddits, and or just talk to people in regular life, and I can tell like there's just something in the air. I don't know what's going on, but there's just, you have either people that are completely brainwashed, like I said, or you have some people that are like, wow, like they are waking up. Like as cliche as it sounds, there is some kind of weird enlightenment going on. And I don't know, is it because of psychedelics? Is it because I don't know. I don't know the reason for it, but it is true, man. Like there's something going on. And it just starts it starts with things like this podcast, man, and like yours too. Just people listening, and they're hearing other opinions and other ways to live, and other perspectives, and just other mindsets. And I think all of these mediums are just the beginning to us creating this new different world that we are approaching. It seems like it's going toward a dystopia, but I think
Mhm.
that's just what the media wants you to believe, or like social media wants you to see, when really behind the scenes is really this utopian ideal. Like the idea of a better world. It's just, obviously it's not mainstream, because you can't, like, we're not there yet. Like we're just, but there are, like, I just see it when I talk to people like you and everybody that else that's been on my podcast, and I see that like there is something else where people want more. Like we want to be free. Essentially, we want more out of this human condition,
Yeah.
and we're getting there. It's a slow process, but we're getting there.
Yeah. I mean, it's, the, I mean, I've always been like kind of an alternative person and stuff. And, I mean, I did acid every day in my senior, or every weekend in my senior year of high school. Like, I mean, I wasn't like a total, like stuck in the rut, but, I think my biggest like period of growth has been like from the first day that I made a YouTube video, on the Help Find the Others channel to now,
Hmm.
and one of the biggest driving forces for that was, in one year, uh, like I was already kind of like starting to read Terrence McKenna and re getting into mushrooms again and getting into all that. And then in the middle of all that, like I reconnected with a really dear friend of mine, and uh, he had been doing like heroin, and stuff like that. And so I kind of like I went to college and went on my path, and like he was doing that, and we bumped into each other every now and then because we were musicians and stuff. But and I knew about him from other people and everything, but wasn't really friends with him anymore. But then I got reacquainted with him, and we started a band together. Like we'd always wanted to be in a band together. We were just, played guitar at parties and stuff like that. We were never in an official band. So we were in a band for about a year, and I just thought like, this is what it's supposed to, we were supposed to, connect and like have this band, and we were going to do really good and stuff like that. And then he died of a fentanyl overdose. And at the same time, I was working this government job, commuting to work, already kind of like feeling like I'm stuck in the rut there. And I was like, what's the end of this? Like what's the end of my life here? Like, am I just hoping someone gets, a promotion so I can take their spot? And I was already feeling that. And then it's like my friend who I really connected with and had a lot in common with and everything, and thought we were going to do this great thing. Like, he's dead. So I was like, is that my path too? Like, is it sticking with music and dying, or like, what's my path here? I don't like either, like, end result. And it started this big journey of like, well, what is my path? What is it? And it like just grew from like that exploration and stuff like that. And it's been great having the podcast to kind of grow myself, but grow with others, other people. And that's what the whole thing was about. And it's this whole, it's not just the psychedelic community. It's like you said, it's the spiritual awakening, enlightenment community, because I know people that I've, either friends with or talked to online or anything like that, who are just into yoga and meditation and have never done psychedelics, and like they get it too, like they get it the same as someone who's never done any of that stuff, but has only done psychedelics. And it's like, it is that consciousness that everyone's tapping into, that like, it isn't the rut, that like, that I was in. I had like, choose path A or B. They're both very well worn. This is what you're supposed to do ruts. And I bushwhack through the middle.
Yeah. It just comes down to thinking for yourself. It doesn't really matter how you get there. It could be through chemical substances, or it could be through yoga and meditation, Tai Chi, whatever it is. It's just, because you can't stay in a mushroom trip forever. Like, it's just not going to work. You got to take what you get from whatever that is, that mind state, and bring it back. And usually it's a sense of, change and thinking for yourself, and, leading the life that you want to live. And everybody has their own way to get to it. And meditation and yoga are, it might not be as quick as a psychedelic trip, but like, it'll still lead you down the same road. It's still the same thing. Like, it's just, it is the awakening that we're talking about. It's the awakening of people wanting more. And like I said before, but it's wanting to just be free. It's like to be liberated. Like, we all want to just not be just cogs in the system anymore. It seems it's like we all just we want more out of life than what we were told that we were led to believe is that, like, this is life. Like, no, like, for me at least, actually, I'm speaking from my personal perspective. It's that, like, I see it as people wanting more, and then me also, like, I want to just be free and live this life of just of virtue, and more than just like you said, just waiting for somebody to get a promotion and me get paid more money, and then I retire at the age of 65, and that's it. And like, it's just like this yearning for just like getting the most out of life. And I think I can kind of feel that out of most people. And everybody has their own journey to get there, and their own journey through life, and whatever they want to do, and their own dharma in this life. But it's that mindset. And I'm glad you brought up your podcast, because I haven't even mentioned that throughout this entire thing. So if anyone wants to check out Rubin's podcast, help find the others on YouTube, so you can check that out. But I meant to ask you actually more about the origins of that, and it comes back. It's from Timothy Leary, right? Didn't he say that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what his whole mindset was. It was turn on, tune in, drop out, think for yourself. It's that 60s psychedelic mindset is Timothy Leary is the guy. He's the man that led that, and
Yeah.
his goal was to just have everybody just think for themselves. Like, don't. It was different in the '60s, but like
Yeah.
it's the same premise now. It's don't fall into the idea. Terrence McKenna says that culture is not your friend.
Yeah.
Just think for yourself, and that's pretty much what you can get from all of this, man. Like all of this entire talk, the whole psychedelics, this whole movement, whatever's going on in the world right now, it's just think for yourself, y'all. Like,
Yeah.
know what's true in your heart. I know that sounds cliche, but know what's true to yourself and what you really want out of life. Learn the rules of life, like learn how to navigate this crazy matrix that we live in. And from there, you'll flourish. It may take time to grow. Like it's all about the small steps. And you might go through some kind of struggle. You might go through some dark places in your head, or just have some weird emotions that you've never felt before. But that's how we grow.
Yeah.
That's how we get to new heights. Is we take that energy, transmutate it into something that'll help us become the beings that we truly think we are, or think that we should be.
Yeah. Well, and the help find the others, like, what Leary was saying with there is like, while you're doing all that stuff, also know you're not alone, and reach
Mm,
out, and like, we are going to help each other find that path,
yeah,
that like it's easier together than alone, and like we'll never be in the majority, but we can be just as powerful as the majority,
100%, man, 100%.
So,
Um, Honestly, I think that's a great way to wrap this thing up. If you want to wrap this
yep.
thing up too, I
Yeah,
just
man.
like to finish it with this on the Timothy Leary quote. I looked it up before, so this is his exact quote from how you named your podcast. This is from Timothy Leary himself, the man. I think he's like an idol of mine. He just seems like such a charismatic and great individual from all videos and quotes that I've seen. And this is one of my favorite quotes. So I'm glad you named your podcast after this. It goes like this. Admit it. You aren't like them. You're not even close. You may occasionally dress yourself up as one of them, watch the same mindless television shows as they do, maybe even eat the same fast food sometimes. But it seems that the more you try to fit in, the more you feel like an outsider, watching the normal people as they go about their automatic existences. For every time you say the club passwords like, have a nice day, and the weather's awful today, eh? You yearn inside to say some forbidden things like, tell me something that makes you cry. Or what do you think deja vu is for? Face it, you want to talk to that girl in the elevator. But what if that girl in the elevator and the balding man who walks past your cubicle at work are thinking the same thing? Who knows what you might learn from taking a chance on conversation with a stranger? Everyone carries a piece of the puzzle. Nobody comes into your life by mere coincidence. Trust your instincts. Do the unexpected. Find the others. And I think that quote, it hits me, and I think I found the others, Ruben.
Yeah. I do too, man. It's been a great. I'm glad you started a podcast, and I think we'll probably end up talking again, and probably
Mm-hmm.
have some guests that trade back and forth, just like what happened with all these other podcasts. Like I started with Joe Rogan's podcast. Now I listen to like 15 other podcasts, and it's just like,
Yeah,
it's the network, it's the mycelium, and that was kind of the idea I had with naming it that, and I've just seen it come to fruition. So
I like it, man. I think it plays in part with like the idea that I have. Like I have the conscious perspective. It's this perspective that people share that I see, and you have find the others. It's in line. It's that same perspective, and I see it in people. It's just like Timothy Leary said. It's the others. It's people that just have a different mindset about life, and it's a community at this point. But hopefully, in the future, it'll be more than just. It'll be the collective community of humanity.
yeah, man.
100%, and we just gotta keep fighting the good fight, man. But yeah, I thank you for coming on to the show today. We had a great talk. I honestly think we could have talked all night. I just figured, we went on for long enough, and you know, you're always welcome to come back on this thing. I thought it was fun, and if you ever want me back on your podcast, we can hopefully get something going if you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, and find the others on YouTube. Find the others podcast if you want to check out Ruben. If anybody enjoyed this, and yeah, let's keep it going, y'all. Everything's gonna be okay. Just keep your head down and have some fun. Don't take this life so seriously, and we're gonna get through.
Oh yeah.
But thanks for listening. Peace.